Welcome to my channel. Do you want to become a great teacher? Or maybe you're just curious. How do teachers really teach? How do they explain difficult topics in simple ways? How do they keep students listening, thinking, and learning every single day? In every classroom, something special is happening. A teacher is using a method, maybe speaking, maybe asking, maybe showing. And that method is helping students understand. But here's the truth. Teaching is not magic. It's method. And every good teacher, no matter what subject or country, uses a few key methods again and again. These are called the general methods of teaching. Some of these methods are very old, used for hundreds of years. Others are modern, full of activity, fun, and technology. But all of them work when used in the right way at the right time. In this video, I will take you through 6 powerful methods that every teacher should know. You will learn how they work, when to use them, and how they help students. I will explain them simply, step by step, using easy English, so even beginners can understand. And this is not just for teachers. If you are a student, a parent, or just someone who loves learning, this video is for you. Because when you understand how teaching works, you become a better learner. You understand your teachers better. You start to notice what helps you and what doesn't. So stay with me till the end. Each chapter will teach you something new. And by the end of this video, you won't just know about teaching. You'll see it in action. Chapter 1. Lecture Method. The old but gold way. Let's begin with one of the oldest and most common ways of teaching, the lecture method. You have seen it in schools, in colleges, even in online classes. The teacher stands in front, talks about the topic, explains ideas, and students listen. It sounds simple, right? But there is more to it. A lecture is not just talking. It is not just reading from a book or speaking for a long time. A good lecture is clear, strong, and interesting. The goal is not to fill time. The goal is to make students understand something, to take a topic that is maybe new or hard, and make it simple and clear with words. Now you might ask, why do we still use lectures today when we have videos, group work, and modern tools? The answer is simple, because a good lecture still works. It works when the topic needs explanation. It works when the teacher knows the subject deeply. And it works when time is short and the teacher needs to give a lot of information in a short time. But here's the secret. Not all lectures are good. Some are boring. Some are confusing. And that's not the method's fault. That's the way it's used. A powerful lecture needs more than just talking. It needs connection. So, how do you give a great lecture? First, let's talk about the teacher's voice. A flat, soft, or tired voice can make even exciting topics feel boring. But a teacher who uses their voice with energy, changes tone, and uses pauses can make even a simple topic feel big and important. A good pause after an important point gives students time to think. Changing the speed, speaking slowly when something is difficult, helps students follow better. Next comes body language. A teacher doesn't have to stand still like a statue. Moving a little, using hands, making eye contact, these small actions make a big difference. They show energy. They keep the students' eyes on the teacher. Even the teacher's face, a smile, a serious look, a raised eyebrow, can help send a message. Students don't only learn with their ears. They learn with their eyes too. Now let's talk about examples. This is one of the most important tools in a lecture. A lecture with only theory or big words can feel heavy. But if the teacher adds a small story, a real-life example, or even a funny moment, the idea becomes easier to remember. Think of how we explain gravity to kids. We don't just say it's a force that pulls things to Earth. We say, if you throw a ball up, it comes down. That's gravity. One small example can make a big idea stick. A good lecture also includes questions. Even if the method is called lecture, the students don't have to sit like silent statues. A smart teacher asks small questions during the talk. Do you see what I mean? Can anyone tell me why this happens? Even if only one or two students answer, it keeps the whole class alert. It feels less like a speech and more like a conversation. Now let's turn to the students. Because good lectures also need good listeners. That's called active listening. Many students think listening is just hearing, but it's more than that. Active listening means you sit up, you follow the teacher's words, you take notes, and you try to connect the ideas in your head. It means asking questions when you don't understand. It means staying focused, even when you feel tired. Teachers can help with this too. They can say things like, "This part is important, write it down." Or, "Here comes the key idea." These small signals help students focus on the most important parts. Also, when a teacher repeats something or changes their tone, that's a sign. This is important. So students should train their ears to notice these signals. Now here's something interesting. A great lecture often feels like a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has a goal. It takes the listener on a journey. When a teacher builds a lecture this way, students don't even feel like they are in a class. They feel like they are discovering something. And that's the magic of the lecture method. When it's done right, let's take an example. Imagine a teacher is teaching the topic photosynthesis. A boring lecture might go like this. Photosynthesis is the process by which green plants make food using sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. But a great lecture might begin with a question. Have you ever thought about how a tree eats, even though it has no mouth? That small question creates curiosity. And now, the students want to know more. So, as you can see, the lecture method is not old and useless. It is old and powerful when used the right way. Teachers who know how to speak with energy, use clear examples, include questions, and treat the lecture like a story. Those teachers make students listen, think, and remember. And that's what good teaching is. Now that you've seen how a great lecture works, stay with me, because in the next chapter, we'll explore a method that's very different from lectures. It's all about students speaking, not the teacher. It's called the discussion method, and it changes everything. Chapter 1. Lecture Method. The old but gold way. Let's begin with one of the oldest and most common ways of teaching, the lecture method. You have seen it in schools, in colleges, even in online classes. The teacher stands in front, talks about the topic, explains ideas, and students listen. It sounds simple, right? But there is more to it. A lecture is not just talking. It is not just reading from a book or speaking for a long time. A good lecture is clear, strong, and interesting. The goal is not to fill time. The goal is to make students understand something, to take a topic that is maybe new or hard, and make it simple and clear with words. Now you might ask, why do we still use lectures today when we have videos, group work, and modern tools? The answer is simple, because a good lecture still works. It works when the topic needs explanation. It works when the teacher knows the subject deeply. And it works when time is short and the teacher needs to give a lot of information in a short time. But here's the secret. Not all lectures are good. Some are boring. Some are confusing. And that's not the method's fault. That's the way it's used. A powerful lecture needs more than just talking. It needs connection. So, How do you give a great lecture? First, let's talk about the teacher's voice. A flat, soft, or tired voice can make even exciting topics feel boring. But a teacher who uses their voice with energy, changes tone, and uses pauses can make even a simple topic feel big and important. A good pause after an important point gives students time to think. Changing the speed, speaking slowly when something is difficult, helps students follow better. Next comes body language. A teacher doesn't have to stand still like a statue. Moving a little, using hands, making eye contact, these small actions make a big difference. They show energy. They keep the students' eyes on the teacher. Even the teacher's face, a smile, a serious look, a raised eyebrow, can help send a message. Students don't only learn with their ears. They learn with their eyes too. Now let's talk about examples. This is one of the most important tools in a lecture. A lecture with only theory or big words can feel heavy. But if the teacher adds a small story, a real-life example, or even a funny moment, the idea becomes easier to remember. Think of how we explain gravity to kids. We don't just say it's a force that pulls things to Earth. We say, if you throw a ball up, it comes down. That's gravity. One small example can make a big idea stick. A good lecture also includes questions. Even if the method is called lecture, the students don't have to sit like silent statues. A smart teacher asks small questions during the talk. Do you see what I mean? Can anyone tell me why this happens? Even if only one or two students answer, it keeps the whole class alert. It feels less like a speech and more like a conversation. Now let's turn to the students. Because good lectures also need good listeners. That's called active listening. Many students think listening is just hearing, but it's more than that. Active listening means you sit up, you follow the teacher's words, you take notes, and you try to connect the ideas in your head. It means asking questions when you don't understand. It means staying focused, even when you feel tired. Teachers can help with this too. They can say things like, "This part is important, write it down." Or, "Here comes the key idea." These small signals help students focus on the most important parts. Also, when a teacher repeats something or changes their tone, that's a sign. This is important. So students should train their ears to notice these signals. Now here's something interesting. A great lecture often feels like a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has a goal. It takes the listener on a journey. When a teacher builds a lecture this way, students don't even feel like they are in a class. They feel like they are discovering something. And that's the magic of the lecture method. When it's done right. Let's take an example. Imagine a teacher is teaching the topic photosynthesis. A boring lecture might go like this. Photosynthesis is the process by which green plants make food using sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. But a great lecture might begin with a question. Have you ever thought about how a tree eats, even though it has no mouth? That small question creates curiosity. And now, the students want to know more. So, as you can see, the lecture method is not old and useless. It is old and powerful when used the right way. Teachers who know how to speak with energy, use clear examples, include questions, and treat the lecture like a story. Those teachers make students listen, think, and remember. And that's what good teaching is. Now that you've seen how a great lecture works, stay with me, because in the next chapter, we'll explore a method that's very different from lectures. It's all about students speaking, not the teacher. It's called the discussion method, and it changes everything. You said, right now, but more than 700 words, Chapter 2. Discussion method. Talking to learn. Now we move to a method that is the opposite of lecture. Discussion. We'll explain why letting students speak helps them think better. How asking the right questions can make a quiet class come alive. Teachers don't always need to talk. Sometimes they just need to guide. This chapter will show how to create good questions, how to give wait time, and how to handle different opinions. For English learners, this also shows why speaking is learning. This part will feel interactive, and we'll share examples of group discussions and how they help shy or slow learners open up. This chapter will spark curiosity and make viewers think. What happens if students do most of the talking? Chapter 2. Discussion method. Talking to learn. In the last chapter, we explored the lecture method, where the teacher does most of the talking. Now let's flip that. Let's talk about a method where students speak and the teacher becomes more of a guide. This is called the discussion method. It is the opposite of a lecture, but just as powerful. And for many learners, especially in language classrooms or critical thinking subjects, it may be even more effective. So, what is the discussion method? It's a way of teaching where students learn by talking. They share ideas, give opinions, ask questions, and build answers together. Instead of just listening, they become part of the lesson. The teacher still plays a role, but it's not the role of a speaker. It's the role of a facilitator, someone who guides the conversation and makes sure learning happens. Now, you may ask, how does talking help learning? Good question. When students speak, they don't just show what they know, they build what they know. They connect ideas in their minds. They hear different views. They learn to explain, to argue, to agree or disagree, all using their own words. This is especially helpful in subjects like history, literature, science, and of course, language learning. Let's look at a simple example. A teacher asks, why do people move to cities? Now, the students start talking. One says, to find jobs. Another adds, for better schools. Another says, because there are more hospitals. Now, they're not just giving answers. They're thinking, they're learning from each other, and they're practicing communication. But here's the key. For a discussion to work, the teacher must ask the right kind of questions. There are two types of questions. Closed questions, where the answer is short, often yes or no, or just one word. For example, is the sun a star? The answer is yes, and the discussion ends. Open-ended questions, where the answer can be long, deep, and full of ideas. For example, why is the sun important for life on Earth? This type of question opens the door to discussion. Students can give many different answers and even disagree. A good teacher uses open-ended questions to start discussion. But that's not enough. The teacher also needs to give wait time, a few seconds of silence after asking. Many teachers don't do this. They ask a question and expect an answer right away. But students need a moment to think, especially shy or slow learners. Giving 5 to 10 seconds of silence may feel long, but it helps more students join the talk. The teacher should also create a safe space. That means no laughing at others, no judging answers, no pressure to be perfect, just sharing ideas, learning together. When students feel safe, they speak more. Even shy students start to join. And for language learners, this is gold. Because speaking helps them grow in grammar, in vocabulary, and in confidence. Now, what if students give different opinions? That's not a problem. That's a gift. A real discussion often has disagreement. And that's okay, if it's done with respect. A teacher can say, that's an interesting view. Does anyone see it differently? Or, let's compare these two answers. This helps students see both sides. It builds critical thinking. Let's try another classroom example. Imagine you are teaching the topic climate change. You ask, what are some causes of climate change? Students begin to respond. Factories, cars, cutting trees. Then you ask, what can we do to stop it? Now they start thinking deeper. Use less plastic. Plant trees. Use public transport. They're not just giving facts. They're solving problems. That's learning in action. You can also try group discussions. Divide the class into small groups. Give each group a question or topic. Let them talk for 5 to 10 minutes. Then, ask one student from each group to share what they talked about. This is great for shy students. In small groups, they feel less scared. They can speak more freely. It also helps students learn from each other, not just from the teacher. For example, in an English class, you can give a topic like, what is your favorite festival and why? Let students talk in pairs or small groups. They share their traditions, their stories, and new vocabulary. Now they are practicing real-life English, not just grammar exercises. The discussion method is also great for reviewing lessons. After teaching a topic, ask the class, what did you learn today? Or what part was difficult? Or can you explain it in your own words? This gives you, the teacher, useful feedback. It shows you what students understood and what they didn't. But remember, discussion doesn't mean chaos. The teacher still has to guide the talk, manage time, and keep things on track. Sometimes, a discussion can go too far off topic, or one student may speak too much. That's when the teacher needs to gently bring balance. It's like being a driver. You let the students explore, but you still hold the steering wheel. So, to sum up, the discussion method is about giving students the power to speak, think, and learn together. It teaches them to listen, to explain, to agree and disagree, and to learn not just from books, but from each other. It's a method full of energy, curiosity, and connection. And for English learners, this method is a gift. Because when you speak, you grow. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to try. Because every time you share your voice, your learning gets stronger. In the next chapter, we'll move from speaking to showing. We'll explore the demonstration method, where the teacher shows something real, not just talks about it. You don't want to miss it. Chapter 3, Demonstration Method. Show, don't just tell now. Let's talk about a method that many students love because it makes learning real. It's called the demonstration method. In this method, the teacher doesn't just talk about something, they show it. And when students see something happen in front of them, they understand it more clearly. They remember it better too. Think about this. If someone explains how to ride a bicycle using only words, would you understand it fully? Maybe not. But if they show you, step by step, how to hold the handle, how to push the pedals, and how to balance, it becomes much easier to learn. That's the power of demonstration. It turns words into action. It turns ideas into reality. In classrooms, teachers use this method in many ways. In a science class, they might show a simple experiment, like mixing vinegar and baking soda to show a chemical reaction. In a math class, a teacher can show a trick to multiply numbers faster. In an English class, a teacher can use facial expressions, mouth movements, and sounds to show how to pronounce difficult words like thought or through. Let's look at a few examples. Imagine a teacher wants to explain how sound travels. Instead of just saying, sound is a vibration that moves through air, the teacher takes a rubber band, stretches it, and plucks it. The students see the band move. They hear the sound. That small action makes the idea clear and fun. It becomes a top moment in the class, the kind that students remember even after years. Or in an English lesson, let's say the teacher is teaching how to pronounce the th sound. The teacher shows where to put the tongue between the teeth and says, think. 30. The students can copy. They can watch, try, and repeat. This is so much better than just writing the rule on the board. Show, don't just tell. Now let's take a moment and try a quick demo right here. You, the viewer, can try it too. Top moment, let's learn how to make a paper airplane. Just grab a simple paper sheet. First, fold it in half long ways. Then open it. Now fold the top 2 corners down to meet the middle line. Next, fold the triangle down. Now fold both sides to the center again. Finally, fold the plane in half and make the wings. That's it. You have a paper airplane. You didn't need a big lecture. Just simple steps. And the best part? You made something. That's learning by doing. And it sticks in your brain better than reading 50 words about airplanes. This method is also great for visual learners, students who learn best by seeing. It also helps kinesthetic learners, those who learn by doing with their hands. Some students, especially young ones or language beginners, struggle to learn only from speech or writing. They need action. They need movement. They need something real. The demonstration method gives them that. It also helps when teaching skills. Let's say you're teaching students how to use a compass in geography, or how to use a ruler, or how to cut vegetables in a cooking class. A demonstration gives the step-by-step process clearly, and students can copy it. They're not guessing, they're following. And as they follow, they learn. Another great benefit is that demonstration helps with memory. When students see something happen, they remember it longer. That's because our brains are very good at remembering pictures, actions, and experiences. That's why we remember a funny ad or a short video much more than a list of facts. The demonstration method uses this brain power. It turns lessons into experiences. And there's more. This method makes classes more exciting. It brings energy. It grabs attention. When a teacher picks up a tool or starts a mini experiment, all eyes go to the front. Even quiet or sleepy students suddenly look up. They want to know what will happen next. That's what we call a visual spike. It keeps people watching, thinking, and wanting more. So, how can teachers use this method well? First, they should prepare. A demo must be clear and simple. If it's too fast or messy, students won't follow. So teachers should try it once before class, like a practice round. Second, teachers should talk while they show. For example, now I fold this side like this. Watch carefully. This part is important. This helps students do both, watch and listen. Third, teachers should let students try it too. If the teacher shows how to draw a map, let students draw their own. If the teacher shows how to pronounce a word, give students time to practice it in pairs. Demonstration should not be a one-way street. It should lead to action, to real learning. And don't forget, this method is not only for science or craft classes. It can be used in any subject. In grammar, show how to build a sentence. In history, show pictures or models of events. In business studies, show a chart or simple money exchange example. The point is not the subject. The point is the action to make ideas visible. To sum up, the demonstration method is one of the most exciting and useful ways to teach. It brings learning to life. It helps students understand faster. It gives them something to hold, to see, to do. And that kind of learning stays, not just in their notebooks, but in their minds. In the next chapter, we go even deeper into learning by doing. It's called the activity-based method, and it's all about learning through games, tasks, and teamwork. If you like this chapter, you'll love what's coming next. Chapter 4, Activity-Based Method. Learning by Doing. Welcome to Chapter 4, where we dive into one of the most powerful and engaging teaching strategies, activity-based learning. If you've ever watched students light up with excitement during a game or smiled as they solved a problem together with real energy, that's the magic of learning by doing. This chapter is all about turning that magic into a method. What is activity-based learning? Activity-based learning means using real-world tasks, interactive games, hands-on projects, and creative exercises to teach important ideas. It moves away from passive listening and turns the classroom into a space of active participation. Students don't just hear about a topic, they experience it. Whether it's through role play, drawing, experiments, group challenges, or storytelling, this method gets learners thinking, moving, and engaging with the material on a much deeper level. Why activity-based learning works? Here's the truth. When students do something, they remember it. Learning becomes more meaningful when connected to action. That's because activities activate multiple parts of the brain, especially when students speak, write, move, and collaborate all at once. It also fits many different learning styles. Visual learners love drawing and diagrams. Auditory learners enjoy role plays and discussions. Kinesthetic learners thrive in games and movement-based tasks. Social learners shine in group work and problem-solving tasks. It's not just fun, it's brain science. Examples that work. Let's look at some examples of activity-based methods in action. Role play. In an English class, students pretend to be in a restaurant. One is the waiter, the other is the customer. They use real menus and practice real dialogue. Games. In a science class, the teacher sets up a cell-structure treasure hunt, where students move around the room to collect organelles and build a model. Drawing and visualization. In history, students draw timelines or comic strips to show key events. Small projects. In math, students design a mini-market and calculate costs, profits, and change, turning basic arithmetic into real-life thinking. Building and creating. In computer class, students build a basic app or game, applying what they've learned about logic and coding. All of these activities turn abstract knowledge into real action. The role of the teacher, from boss to guide in traditional teaching. The teacher is the center of the classroom, the boss, the speaker, the expert. But in activity-based learning, the teacher becomes a facilitator or a guide. The focus shifts from what I'm teaching to what the students are doing. Here's what a good facilitator does. Prepares the activity with clear goals. Gives instructions step by step. Watches how students are engaging. Asks questions during the activity to check for understanding. Encourages reflection after the task is done. This shift empowers students. They become owners of their learning, not just receivers. Planning a great activity, a good activity, is not random. It has a clear purpose. Here's a simple structure for planning. Set a goal. What should students learn from this activity? Be specific. Design the task, make it interesting and achievable. Keep it connected to the learning goal. Give clear instructions. Break the task into steps. Use examples if needed. Group students thoughtfully use pair work for dialogue and quick tasks. Use group work for problem solving or creative tasks. Monitor and support. Move around the room. Help when needed, but let them try first. Reflect together after the activity. Ask, what did you learn? What was easy or hard? This step helps students process the experience and connect it to future learning. Pair work and group work. The power of social learning. Many activities are built on students working together, and that's a good thing. Pair and group work teach more than the subject. They teach teamwork, communication, and responsibility. In pair work, students feel safe. It's just them and a partner. They can try new words, ask questions, and speak more freely. In group work, students learn to listen, share roles, and solve problems together. The key for teachers? Structure it well. Give clear roles or responsibilities so every student is active, not just one or two. Making sure learning is happening. But how do I know they're learning? Good question. That's why reflection and observation matter. During the activity, listen to students speak. Watch how they interact. Ask quick questions. Why did you do it this way? Or can you explain that step again? After the activity, use exit tickets, a quick question on paper before they leave. Do a short quiz the next day. Ask students to explain the activity in their own words. This helps you measure progress without killing the fun. Why this feels exciting? Many viewers may never have learned this way. In some schools, learning is still about textbooks and tests. But when people see how games, challenges, and creativity become real education, something sparks. Students laugh. They try. They explore. And most importantly, they remember. This method transforms learning from a duty into a discovery. Final thought: activity-based learning shows us one big idea. Students learn best when they are active, mentally, emotionally, socially, and physically. This method doesn't just teach facts. It builds skills, confidence, and a love for learning. As a teacher, you don't need fancy tools. Just a little creativity, trust in your students, and a plan. The results? More smiles, better understanding, and students who say, "That was fun, and I learned something." Chapter 5, Questioning Method, The Power of Asking. Welcome to Chapter 5, one of the most underrated but powerful tools in teaching, asking the right questions. In this chapter, we explore how questions aren't just a way to test what students know. They're one of the best ways to teach, guide, and grow thinking. This chapter will show you how smart questioning can unlock learning in any classroom, at any level, in any subject. Why questions matter? Let's start simple. Questions make people think. That's their power. Too often, we think of questions as something students ask. But the real magic happens when teachers ask the questions, and ask them well. A great question doesn't just test memory. It stretches the mind. It helps students connect ideas, explain reasoning, and explore possibilities. Think of questioning as a tool with two superpowers: to check understanding, to develop deeper thinking, and when done right, it builds a classroom that feels more like a conversation than a lecture. Two kinds of questions: open versus closed. Let's look at two types of questions and how they serve different purposes. Closed questions, these have one correct answer. Example: what is the capital of France? They are useful for checking facts or basic knowledge. Quick and easy to answer, great for review or warm-ups. Open questions, these invite discussion, opinions, or explanations. Example: why do you think Paris became an important capital in Europe? There is no single correct answer. Students must think, explain, and sometimes defend their ideas. Both kinds are useful, but open questions push students into deeper learning. They activate critical thinking, creativity, and communication skills. Bloom's taxonomy, in simple words. You might have heard of Bloom's taxonomy. It's a framework that describes levels of thinking from simple to complex. Even if you've never heard the name, you've probably used it. Here's an easy version. Remember, can the student recall information? What is photosynthesis? Understand, can they explain the idea? Can you describe how photosynthesis works? Apply. Can they use it in a new situation? What would happen to plants without sunlight? Analyze. Can they break it down? Why do some plants grow better than others in low light? Evaluate. Can they form a judgment? Which energy source is better, sunlight or artificial light? Create. Can they invent something new? Design an experiment to test how light affects plant growth. Asking questions from each level helps students build not just knowledge, but understanding, judgment, and creativity. How teachers use this every day. Even without formal training, many teachers naturally move through these levels. For example, in a science class, you start with, what is a force? Remember. Then, can you give an example of force in real life? Apply. Then, why did the object move in that direction? Analyze. If you're doing this, you're already using questioning as a teaching tool, not just a test. Handling wrong answers with kindness. One of the biggest fears students have is giving the wrong answer, especially in front of others. A good questioning method helps students feel safe to try, even if they're unsure. Here's how to build that safety. Never mock or reject a wrong answer. Say things like, interesting, let's explore that a bit more. You're on the right track. Can we look at it from another angle? That's a common mistake. Let's figure it out together. Wrong answers are learning opportunities, not failures. The goal isn't to catch mistakes. The goal is to guide thinking. Building confidence through questions. Each time a student answers a question, especially an open one, they are practicing courage. They're using their voice. They're thinking in real time. That's powerful. To help build confidence, start with simple questions, then move up. Give wait time. Let them think before answering. Praise effort, not just correctness. Ask follow-up questions that make students feel their ideas matter. Confidence grows when students feel their thoughts are valued, even if they're not always right. Challenge for the viewer. Let's make it real now. Let's make this video interactive. Pause moment. Here's a real learning question, and we want you to answer it in the comments. Imagine you're teaching English to beginners. You ask, what do you like to eat? A student says, I like eat pizza. What kind of question could you ask to help them correct it without just giving the answer? Pause. Think. Write your answer below. This moment turns the viewer from a passive watcher into an active learner, and it creates a classroom feeling right inside the video. It also encourages more engagement and watch time. Final thoughts. The questioning method isn't about asking more questions. It's about asking better ones. It's about creating a classroom where students feel safe to wonder, explore, and speak. In every subject, math, science, history, language, questions shape the way students learn. They guide discovery. They deepen thought. And most importantly, they show students that learning is not about being perfect. It's about being curious. So next time you plan a lesson, don't just write down what you'll say. Write down what you'll ask. Because sometimes the right question is the best lesson of all. Chapter 6. Mixed Methods. Teaching for everyone. Welcome to the final chapter, the one that ties it all together. In this chapter, we explore a simple truth. There's no single best teaching method. The most effective teachers don't stick to just one approach. They blend them, shift when needed, and adapt to reach every learner. This is where teaching becomes an art, a thoughtful, flexible, and student-centered process. Why no one method is enough? Imagine teaching only through lecture. Some students might understand, but others would get bored or lost. Now imagine using only games. Fun, yes, but will all the content stick? Or only asking questions? Only showing demonstrations? Each method has strengths and limits. That's why great teaching isn't about choosing one way. It's about learning when and how to use many methods, depending on the topic, the students, the goals, and even the energy in the room. This chapter is about becoming a flexible teacher, someone who responds, adjusts, and blends strategies for better results. The art of mixing methods. Let's say you're teaching a topic like the water cycle. You could start with a demonstration, show a closed jar with water and heat. Students watch evaporation and condensation. Add a short lecture. Explain the 4 stages: evaporation, condensation, precipitation, collection. Ask questions. Where do you see evaporation in real life? Why does it rain more in some places? Use an activity. Have students draw the cycle or act it out in a role play: sun, cloud, raindrop. Assign a project. In pairs, students create posters or short videos explaining the process. That's not one method, it's 5 blended together. Each one reaches different learners. The visual student sees the diagram. The hands-on learner does the role play. The verbal learner explains it aloud. The shy student draws and reflects. Everyone is included. How to choose the right method. Choosing methods isn't about guessing. It's about reading the room and asking, what kind of content am I teaching? Facts? Skills? Deep thinking? What do my students need today? Are they tired? Energized? Confused? How do they learn best? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic? What's the best way to help them understand and remember? A topic that needs memorization might use games, quizzes, or repetition. A topic that needs critical thinking might use open-ended questions and discussions. A topic that needs practice might need demonstration first, then hands-on work. The smart teacher adjusts. If something isn't working, they shift. That's the power of mixing methods. New teaching ideas. Flipped and blended learning. In simple words, some teachers today use new models that blend even more. Flipped classroom. Instead of learning in class and doing homework at home, it's the opposite. Students watch a video or read a short lesson at home. In class, they do activities, practice, and projects with the teacher's help. It frees up class time for deeper learning. Blended learning, a mix of online and face-to-face learning. Students use technology, videos, apps, games, alongside traditional teaching. Example, in a grammar lesson, the teacher explains a rule briefly. Then students go online to practice it through interactive quizzes. These aren't meant to replace good teaching. They're meant to add more tools to the toolbox, especially in a world where students are surrounded by technology. Reading the room. When to shift sometimes, even your best plan might not work. Maybe the class is too tired, or the activity is too hard, or too easy. Here's where the flexible teacher shines. How to read the room. Are students bored or distracted? Are they participating or staying silent? Are they finishing tasks quickly or struggling? What to do if it's not working? Change the pace, slow down or speed up. Add a quick energizer or break. Shift the method. Turn a lecture into a discussion or a worksheet into a game. Ask the class, is this making sense? Or do you want to try it another way? Great teaching isn't rigid. It's responsive. Visual moment. One topic, many methods. Let's go back to our earlier example, the water cycle. Here's how you could teach it using 4 different methods. Lecture, 5 minutes. Brief explanation with a diagram. Demonstration, a clear jar with water under a lamp to show evaporation and condensation. Activity, students draw or label the cycle on paper or digitally. Questioning, ask students, what would happen if there were no condensation? Or why do clouds form? This visual breakdown helps viewers see the blend and realize they can do it too. Final thoughts. Be the kind of teacher who can adapt. Here's the key message. Teaching is not about finding one perfect method. It's about being open, creative, and willing to try what works for your students. Sometimes you'll lecture. Sometimes you'll show. Sometimes you'll ask. Sometimes you'll play. Sometimes you'll try something new. That's what makes you a great teacher. In a real classroom, there are quiet students, active students, curious ones, shy ones, fast learners, and those who need more time. No single method can reach them all, but a mix can. So don't feel like you have to choose between methods. Instead, learn how to blend them and teach for everyone. This is not the end of the series. It's the beginning of smarter teaching. Let's keep learning. Let's keep growing. Let's keep asking, what will help my students today? Because the best method is the one that works. Call to action after Chapter 6. If this video helped you, give it a like. It tells us we're making a difference. And if you're ready to grow as a teacher or learner, type in the comments below. I'm ready to teach. I'll reply and cheer you on, because we're in this journey together. Don't forget to subscribe for more practical, inspiring lessons that go beyond grammar and vocabulary. These are real tools to help you connect, grow, and succeed in the classroom and in life. Remember, the best teachers don't just deliver lessons. They build confidence, spark curiosity, and change lives. And the best learners never stop exploring. If you're still watching, that's you. Glowing star.